Ghanaians had hoped that the seriousness of our economic situation would finally prompt a reduction in the size of government, and that President Akufo-Addo would see wisdom in getting rid of the deadwood in his government who have nothing to offer this country. In the circumstances, while the insensitive government is refusing to act responsibly to contain the looming economic disaster, we in the minority will fully discharge our duties to the people of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, a couple of weeks ago, the President announced names of nominees for ministerial appointment. The vetting commenced this morning at 10 o'clock, immediately after this press statement. We in the minority wish to state it clear that we will remain committed to ensuring greater scrutiny and will spare no effort to proceed to protect the public purse. In line with this, we are taking part in the vetting processes so that at the very minimum, we can scrutinize the President's decision in bringing up these nominees. Again, the minority will not subscribe to a consensus vote at the level of the appointment committee. This will ensure that the matter is brought to the full House for a vote to be taken in secret. And I can assure you that we in the NDC stand united with our number of 136 for this expedition.
Their presser follows the directive from the National Democratic Congress (NDC) directing them not to approve President Nana Akufo-Addo's new ministerial nominees. The party described the nominations as insensitive and will affect government spending in the midst of an economic mess created by President Akufo-Addo and his Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. The NDC, in a statement signed by its General Secretary, Fifi Fiavikwete, said the NDC has long expressed concern over the very large size of the current government and shares the views of most Ghanaians, including civil society, that it must be reduced, bearing in mind the current massive economic mess the country has been plunged into by the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia government. They therefore called for the immediate reduction in the number of ministers from the current 86 to 65.
We are calling on the following. 1. Immediate reduction in the numbers of ministers from the current level of 86 to 65. 2. The merger of the following ministries. For example, 1. Information and communications to be merged. 2. Transport and railways to be merged. Chieftaincy and tourism. 3. 4. Sanitation and local government, among others. And then agric and fisheries, if possible. The immediate reduction in the number of political appointees at the office of the President, we also expect that to be done. Immediately, we also demand an immediate scrapping of all amorphous creations and waste pipes. Job for the boys. Appointment since the assumption of the office of the President in 2017. The work of these undefined amorphous creations must revert to established entities in the civil and public services that perform similar, if not the same functions.
However, Honorable Mama Yariga, responding to the press on their changes of winning the secret ballot voting at the plenary, had this to say.
So we're saying that you already have 85 ministers, 3 have resigned, you have 82, so you should have simply reassigned some ministers. Let's say the ministers of state. You could have just reassigned them to the 2 ministries, and then business will continue. But then he doesn't do that. He doesn't signal to the country any interest in having government itself also make some sacrifices. And we in the NDC have given a clear indication that as a party, when given the opportunity, we will run the country with a much, much smaller number of ministers. Now, for us to have made that promise and yet have the capacity to use our vote to back the promise, and then the President makes nominations, and in spite of a commitment to having the size of government reduced, we go and sit and vote to approve these nominations to bring the number back to 85, it just doesn't demonstrate any commitment and seriousness on the part of NDC itself. So whether we succeed in preventing them from becoming ministers or not, we will vote to demonstrate that if we are given the opportunity to run this country, we will run it with a smaller number of ministerial appointees. And that with the little capacity that we have, we will take every effort to prevent an expansion in the size of government.
That notwithstanding, the minority leader Atuforsen reiterated their call for the finance minister to be removed.
Finally, we reiterate our call for the dismissal of the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, whose gross incompetence in managing our economy has assumed legendary status. The president must spare Ghanaians the agony of waking up tomorrow to see Ken Ofori-Atta still in charge of the economy. We thank you very much.